The rise and fall of Pokémon cards in Japan and analysis. Introduction. The Pokémon trading card game, introduced in Japan in 1996, quickly became a cultural phenomenon that captivated both children and adults. Originally launched as part of the broader Pokémon franchise, which included video games, television shows, and merchandise, the Pokémon cards themselves became highly collectible items, spurring a fervent fanbase and creating a robust secondary market. However, like many cultural trends, the popularity of Pokémon cards has experienced significant highs and lows over the years. This essay examines the rise and fall of Pokémon cards in Japan, exploring the factors that fueled their initial success, the reasons behind their decline, and the enduring legacy that continues to influence the world of trading cards and collectibles. The birth of Pokémon and the initial success of Pokémon cards. The Pokémon franchise was born from the creative mind of Satoshi Tajiri, who, inspired by his childhood interest in collecting creatures, developed the concept of Pokémon, a world where players could capture, train, and battle with various creatures. The first Pokémon video games, Pokémon Red and Green, were released by Nintendo for the Game Boy in 1996. The game's success was monumental, laying the foundation for what would become a global cultural phenomenon. As the franchise expanded, so did its reach into various forms of media and merchandise, including the Pokémon trading card game. Released in October 1996 by Media Factory in Japan, the Pokémon TCG was designed by Wizards of the Coast, the same company behind the successful Magic: The Gathering card game. The Pokémon TCG's simple yet engaging mechanics, combined with the existing popularity of the Pokémon brand, made it an instant hit. The allure of collecting, coupled with the strategic depth of the game, appealed to a broad audience. Children were drawn to the idea of owning their favorite Pokémon in card form, while older players appreciated the game's competitive aspects. The TCG's success was further bolstered by the release of rare and holographic cards, which quickly became coveted items among collectors. Iconic cards, such as the holographic Charizard, reached legendary status, driving demand and elevating the Pokémon TCG to a cultural icon. The Golden Era, 1,996,200. The period from 1996 to 2000 is often regarded as the golden era of Pokémon cards in Japan. During these years, the Pokémon TCG was not just a game, it was a social phenomenon that influenced the daily lives of millions of Japanese children. Schoolyards and playgrounds became arenas where Pokémon battles took place, and trading cards became a common social activity. Several factors contributed to the immense popularity of Pokémon cards during this time. First, the Pokémon anime, which aired in Japan starting in April 1997, played a crucial role in promoting the franchise. The show's episodes often featured battles that mirrored the gameplay mechanics of the TCG, effectively serving as tutorials for young viewers. Additionally, the anime's emotional storytelling and memorable characters deepened the bond fans had with their Pokémon, making the cards more than just pieces of cardboard. They were tangible connections to a beloved world. Second, the release of special promotional cards and limited editions kept the excitement alive. For instance, rare cards were often given away at events or included in limited edition packs, encouraging fans to participate in these activities to complete their collections. The scarcity of these cards only increased their value, leading to a thriving secondary market where rare cards were bought, sold, and traded at high prices. Third, the competitive scene for the Pokémon TCG began to take shape during this period. Tournaments and organized play events were held across Japan, attracting players of all ages. The strategic depth of the game and the desire to prove one's skill in battle drove many to refine their decks and strategies, fostering a competitive community that further fueled the popularity of the cards. The decline to 1206. Despite the overwhelming success of Pokémon cards in the late 1990s, the early 2000s saw a noticeable decline in their popularity in Japan. Several factors contributed to this downturn, leading to what many considered the end of the Pokémon TCG's golden era. One of the primary reasons for the decline was market saturation. By the early 2010s, Pokémon cards had been in circulation for several years, and the novelty that had initially driven their success began to wear off. New expansions and card sets continued to be released, but the market had become oversaturated, leading to a sense of fatigue among collectors and players. The sheer volume of cards made it difficult for casual fans to keep up, and the excitement of collecting them began to diminish. Another significant factor was the rise of competing franchises. As the Pokémon craze began to wane, other collectible card games and franchises, such as Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon, emerged as strong competitors. The Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG in particular captured the interest of many former Pokémon fans. With its more complex gameplay and darker, edgier themes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Appealed to an older demographic that had outgrown Pokémon. The shift in interest towards these new franchises siphoned off a substantial portion of the Pokémon TCG's player base. Additionally, changes in the Pokémon TCG's gameplay and card design contributed to its decline. As new sets were introduced, the game mechanics evolved, sometimes in ways that alienated long-time players. Some fans felt that the game had become overly complex, or that the newer cards lacked the charm of the original sets. This sense of disillusionment led to a decline in tournament participation and overall interest in the game. The broader context of the Pokémon franchise also played a role in the decline of the TCG. By the early 2010s, the Pokémon anime and video games had also seen a drop in popularity. The initial wave of Pokémon mania had subsided, and while the franchise remained successful, it no longer commanded the same cultural dominance it had in the late 1990s. This decline in the overall brand visibility naturally impacted the TCG as well. The resurgence 27216. After several years of decline, the Pokémon TCG experienced a resurgence in Japan starting around 2007. This revival can be attributed to several key factors that reignited interest in the cards and brought a new generation of fans into the fold. One of the most significant factors was the release of the Pokémon video games Pokémon Diamond and Pearl for the Nintendo DS in 2006. These games introduced a new generation of Pokémon and re-engaged both old and new fans with the franchise. The success of the games breathed new life into the Pokémon brand, which in turn boosted interest in the TCG. The cards from the Diamond and Pearl series featured new mechanics and Pokémon, making them appealing to collectors and players alike. The Pokémon Company also made strategic changes to the TCG itself, reintroducing classic elements that had made the game popular in the first place. This included the return of iconic Pokémon in new card sets, as well as a renewed focus on balancing the game to make it more accessible to new players while still challenging for veterans. The introduction of the Pokémon X and later Pokémon GX cards added excitement to the game, as these powerful cards became central to many competitive decks. Another important factor in the resurgence was the growth of the competitive scene. The Pokémon Company International, which oversees the Pokémon TCG, invested heavily in organized play, including the creation of the Pokémon World Championships. These tournaments, which brought together players from around the world, helped to legitimize the TCG as a serious competitive game. The possibility of winning prizes and gaining recognition on a global stage attracted many players back to the game. Moreover, the nostalgia factor played a crucial role in the resurgence of Pokémon cards. As the original fans of Pokémon entered adulthood, many began to rediscover the TCG as a way to relive their childhood memories. This wave of nostalgia was further fueled by events such as the 20th anniversary of Pokémon in 2016, which saw the release of special edition cards and products that celebrated the franchise's history. The appeal of owning or re-owning the cards from their youth drew many former fans back into the hobby. The rise of social media and online communities also contributed to the TCG's revival. Platforms like YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch became popular spaces for Pokémon fans to share their collections, discuss strategies, and participate in online tournaments. The increased visibility and accessibility of the TCG through these platforms helped to create a vibrant and engaged community that spanned both Japan and the rest of the world. The modern era 2017 present. Since 2017, the Pokémon TCG has continued to enjoy sustained popularity both in Japan and globally. The game has evolved in various ways to maintain its relevance in a rapidly changing market, and its success can be attributed to a combination of strategic innovation, nostalgia, and the enduring appeal of the Pokémon brand. One of the key developments in recent years has been the introduction of new gameplay mechanics and card types. For example, the Pokémon V and Pokémon VMAX cards, introduced in 2019, have added new layers of strategy to the game, keeping it fresh and engaging for players. These powerful cards, often featuring popular or legendary Pokémon, have become highly sought after, driving both gameplay and collecting trends. The competitive scene has also continued to thrive, with the Pokémon World Championships becoming a prestigious event that attracts top players from around the globe. The professionalization of the TCG, with players forming teams and sponsors entering the scene, has helped to elevate the game to new heights. The availability of online play, particularly through the Pokémon trading card game online platform, has further expanded the reach of the game, allowing players to compete and trade without geographic limitations. Nostalgia remains a powerful force driving the popularity of Pokémon cards. The release